Kadosh, Erev Tov, Kinyan Masechta. We are right now on the Pchet Mubet, the last 3 words, right? Last 6 words. V'amar Rabbi Yochanan. You could sit down over there. Yeah, and it says over here like this. It says, V'amar Rabbi Yochanan. Says Rabbi Yochanan. What does it mean in the pasuk? Aser te'aser. What do those words mean? Aser te'aser. Everyone knows these words. No, it's a famous word.
Sure.
So it says over here, Aser te'aser. What does it mean? Aser te'aser. Aser bishvil shetit asher. You have to give ma'aser in order to become rich. Meaning, some people, they look for sigulot. I want to have a sigula to become rich. You know what the sigula to become rich is? Jump up and down 10 times, you become rich.
You want to
yeah.
become rich? Tonight is 1 billion.
For sure.
Oh, wow.
So he comes and he says, what does that mean? What does that mean? Aser te'aser, aser bishvil shetit. So you have to give ma'aser in order to become rich. So listen to this Gemara. Ashkeche Rabbi Yochanan Yenuka de Resh Lakish. So Rabbi Yochanan found the child of Resh Lakish. Who is that? Who's the child of Resh Lakish? To Rabbi Yochanan. What is that? His nephew. It was his nephew. So what? He comes and he finds his nephew. Elmaleh, he comes. Yeah. He finds his nephew. Elmaleh, and he tells him, tell me your pasuk. What does that mean? In the olden days, the siman, the best siman life, you go to a student and you tell him, what are you learning? Tell me the pasuk you're learning. All of a sudden, he shoots you out a pasuk. That's a siman. Why? Because why did you catch him exactly in that moment? Obviously, there was something there. And Hashem wanted you to hear it. So therefore, he comes and he says, tell me the pasuk that you're learning. Elmaleh, and he told him, this is the nephew telling him, Aser te'aser, right? So now the child tells his uncle, Aser te'aser. So Elmaleh, he tells Rabbi Yochanan, Aser te'aser? What is Aser te'aser? So Rabbi Yochanan answered him, Aser b'shvil shetit asher. Elmaleh menalach. How do you know this? How do you know? So now the child is asking Rabbi Yochanan, how do you know this concept? No, it's not chutzpah. He's asking a question. How do you know? How do we know this? He's not challenging he's asking, how do you know? How do we know such a thing? Right? So Elmaleh, he says, Zilase. Go try it. Right. Try it. Test him. Test the Kadosh Baruch Hu. So ask the child, Elmaleh, can you test the Kadosh Baruch Hu? Don't test Hashem. Now remember, right, that this is something incredible because this is Dvarim Yudalet Kavbet, and then he's quoting him Dvarim Vav Tetzayin. So he already just told him, listen, I just learned it. Right? And what happens is, Lo tenasu et Hashem. Don't test Hashem. Elmaleh, he tells him, Hachi amar Rav Oshaya. This is what Rav Oshaya said. Chutz mizo, except for this. Meaning, you're not allowed to test the Kadosh Baruch Hu, but that's the explanation. Lo tenasu et Hashem. Don't test Hashem. Don't test God in nothing except for this. Except for this. Shneimar, but it says in the pasuk, Haviu et kol ha'maaser el bet ha'otzar v'iterev beveti. Right, which means here we're talking about you have to bring all the maaser to the storage houses, and there's going to be terev beveti, which is the ochel for the kohanim and the leviim that they're in the Bet HaMikdash. And you're going to test me in this. Amar Hashem Tzevakot. If I'm not going to open up the windows of the firmament to bring down rain, and I'm going to spill upon you brachat belidai. What does that mean at brachat belidai? So you see from here that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is saying Chanina bezot. Chanunina bezot means that you can actually test Hashem. And what's that? Only a maaser. So he says, but what's the brachat belidai? He says, Amar Rabbi Bar Chama Amar Rav. Says Rabbi Bar Chama in the name of Rav, Ad shivlu siftotechem milomar dai. Until you're going to come and you're going to say, right, that it's mashma, that you're already tired. Right? What does that mean you're already tired? It's already, that means even though dai, you don't use the sfatayim. Right? Because what does that mean? Sfatayim means that you say dai. right? It's like Dayenu, right? The bet is like, coming from the Otayot of the Sfatayim, right? So he comes and he says, the Baal Shem Tov comes and he says, the Kavanah is that the Chulshat Sfatayim is that we're always going to be saying, die, and the only thing that you say is die. That means you're always just saying, it's enough, it's enough, it's enough, it's enough. Yeah, it's enough. Why? Because you can't anymore. Which means that HaKadosh Baruch Hu will give us so much beracha. He'll give us so much beracha, we won't be able to. We'll say stop. Yeah, we'll stop. Yeah. Now listen. The nephew comes and he says, Elmaleh, says the child to Rabbi Yochanan, if I would have gotten to this pasuk, because remember, this is in Malachi. He's still in Devarim. You understand? So this Malachi is obviously afterwards, right? Malachi is afterwards. So he comes and he says, if I would have gotten to the pasuk, so I wouldn't need nor you, nor Rav Oshaya, your rabbi, either. Meaning that the child says, it's a pasuk mefurash. Now that it's a pasuk mefurash, you're not giving me a chidush. I thought you were going to tell me, you know how it is sometimes, you ask a question, you're waiting for some midrash, some that. Also, you come pasuk mefurash, you're like, Aleph Bet, what's going on here? That means I didn't learn how to speak. If I would have gotten there, I wouldn't have needed nothing, which means that the child is coming and telling Rabbi Yochanan, his uncle, right, which is the rabbi of Reish Lakish also, right? Is it? Says, it's simple. I wouldn't need nothing. I would have known it on my own. I didn't need anything. Okay, fine. This is the first part. The second part, which is also very interesting, is again with Rabbi Yochanan and his nephew. He was sitting and he said, right, the pasuk in Mishleh, okay, and he says like this: "Ivelet adam tesalef tarko, ve'al Hashem izaf libo." What does that mean? The foolishness of a human being, when they sin, it causes that sometimes he makes his way crooked. And therefore, negative things, calamities befall upon them. Bad things happen to them. Yeah? But if he would come and get upset at Hashem, so he doesn't understand why Hashem is bringing it upon him. Meaning, right now, if he's going to get upset, well, open up your eyes. Realize what's going on. Why are you getting upset? Open up your eyes, and then you realize, what are you getting upset for? So the Tiv Rabbi Yochanan would come in Tamas. So Rabbi Yochanan's sitting, and he's astonished, and he says, At the end of the day, everything which is written in the Ketuvim, which that's here Mishleh is Ketuvim, in the scriptures, correct? Tehillim, all these things, that's all scriptures. It's part of Tanakh, but it's part of the Ketuvim of Tanakh. Is there anything which is written, right, in the Ketuvim, which is not hinted in the Torah? For sure, there has to be some remez in the Torah, but I don't have a remez. Elmaleh says the child, right, to Rabbi Yochanan, Atu hami lo remize. He says, what? This is not merumaz in the pasuk? Vaktiv, it's written. How do we know that they are going to come and they're going to be upset with the actions of God, but they don't realize that it was because of their own actions that it happened? He says, you know when? Vaktiv, it's written by Mechidat Yosef and Bereshit. It's written by Yetzel Libam. Their hearts went out. So each one was saying to their brothers, why did God do this to us? They were upset. They didn't understand what happened with Mechidat Yosef and everything. This is all the beginning. So they're coming, they're saying, I don't understand what's going on. What did God do to us? So now listen to this. Rabbi Yochanan just learned something from his nephew. And it was astonishing because he's thinking, I'm trying to see how is there a connection between the Ketuvim and the Torah. And I couldn't find it. So I'm trying to find this connection. So all of a sudden, what happens? He comes and he says, Dal ene v'chazabe. So he tries to pick up his eyes to look at the child. Meaning this child was so charif, was so sharp, that he wanted to look at his nephew. The mother came and took him away. Who's the mother? His sister. Right? His sister, the sister of Yochanan, comes, takes him away. Exactly. Elmaleh. She comes and she tells the child, Tami, come here, go away, move away from here. That he shouldn't do to you what he did to your father. What happened? He killed his father.
I need to tell you everything.
What happened was that we know that Rabbi Yochanan and Reish Lakish learned together for many, many years. Now, Resh Lakish was very sharp. And they say that on everything that Rabbi Yochanan said, so Resh Lakish would ask a whole bunch of questions, and then they would go back and forth, and that's how they were able to have much more Torah. What happened is that here it says that the Gemara in Baba Metzia, Peidad al-Mudalef says that Resh Lakish at the beginning, he was the bandit, and then afterwards he went and he was learning and learning. It once happened that the Resh Lakish didn't appreciate enough Rabbi Yochanan. He said something, and many times, by the way, this happens many times with Tamil Chaver. This happens if, for example, you learn something from your rabbi, and all of a sudden you think now that you know it all. And once you know it all, so now you're mezalzel in the rabbi. You're like, what does he know already? I already know more than him. Or I know the same amount. We're on the same level. So you come and you're mezalzel. You come and you said something. Rabbi Yochanan, right? He got upset because the Shakish was mezalzel. Now, even though they were chavrutot, it wasn't anymore a Talmid Rabbi. At the beginning, it was a Talmid Rabbi, obviously, because the Shakish was not learning Torah at all. But then afterwards, it was a chavruta. But still, the fact that he wasn't mechabed oto karaui, he didn't properly respect him. He was makpid. Once he was makpid, what happened was that he looked at Rabbi Yochanan, at the Shakish. The Shakish became sick and he died. Now, don't think that Rabbi Yochanan was happy at his death. Why? Because the Gemara later afterwards said that he also died. Why? He was depressed because he took in a nu chavruta, and anything that he said, the nu chavruta wanted to, as if to butter him up. So what happens? Anything that he said, he brought him 12 proofs. And he's like, Ribono Shalom, that's what I need. I need proofs. He said anything that I would come and I would say, so he would come and he would ask me 24 questions and we would answer 24 answers and then going back and forth. Here, I come and I say something, instead of coming and trying to know Torah, he's trying to bring me a proof. Chazak Baruch, I don't need that. So he was depressed. And afterwards, he also died. So Rabbi Yochanan, but the mother came and told her son, be very careful. I don't want him doing the same that he did to your father. So move out of here. But it was the son. Now, obviously, this little child, he wasn't, challenging his uncle, or you understand, he wasn't. But he just said, obviously, it's removed in the Torah. Pasuk mefurash in Bereshit. Well, you didn't learn Bereshit. To get to Devarim, you get to Bereshit. Bereshit, Shemot, Vayikra, Vayimbar. You get to Devarim. Yeah, you have the basis. Okay, fine. So this is what the Gemara says, and then afterwards we're going to continue with the fifth thing that Rabbi Yochanan said. Because how did all this Gemara start off? This Gemara started off that there were 5 sayings of Rabbi Yochanan with rain. One of them was kibbutz giyasot, if you remember, which basically means that they're going to come in and they're not going to do war in the middle of rain. Tzedakah, maaser, parnas, and siman. So we're going to go afterwards, right, one by one, right, that the rain stops because people that they say that they're going to give tzedakah and they don't give tzedakah. So that if somebody makes a pledge and they don't give it, so therefore it's a big problem. So that's why in tzedakah, that's tzedakah. The next one was maaser. The maaser was a b'shvil shetit asher, and then afterwards we're going to speak about the parnas, right? And then we're going to speak about it, and also the yachid. Okay.